We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
How would Vince not know about the gold bars in the vault ahead of time if these guys are the crack squad they're implied to be? They just know that there's just something in the vault.
They probably just got a delivery of the gold.
That just sits there for 8 years.
That
never goes anywhere.
Enough gold that's a substantial chunk of any regional economy just sitting in a bank vault. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I was like trying to figure out how much gold that was, but I just gave up. It was a shitload of gold.
Yeah,
worth
millions.
It's like hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting in that bank vault.
When you see, was it Die Hard with a Vengeance, and they steal all that gold, it's like some Federal Reserve or something like that. It's almost as much money as that.
Yeah,
like
I was like, what is this doing outside of
trucks.
Fort Knox?
You know, what's with the fence? Like, just like, why do they?
A fence inside a vault.
A fence inside of a vault. Looked like it was just barely there. Like they just like put a couple pieces of fencing around it.
So they do have secured a secured area inside of a lot of vaults, and that's typically where the more high-end accounts are locked up. So they'll have safety or like security deposit boxes, and that's where like your high rollers are going to be putting shit, or even the bank will store shit back there that they don't want the general public to have access to, or their tellers to have access to. But I would find it very hard to believe they would just leave bricks of gold laying right there
behind chain link fence.
I mean,
they're going to put like an extra.
It would be like thick metal bars.
It'd be like prison cell style.
Exactly.
Like if you can break into a vault, you can cut through a chain link fence to get to what's on the other side.
You can clip through a fucking chain link fence, bro. Give me some gardening.
Probably just
shears,
lift up the bottom and crawl under it.
Yeah.
That was
if
just
only
like,
one of the, you know,
separate
if Gum would have been the guy on the team in the trust, they would have just been right through that freaking vault door, in and out in seconds.
Yeah, he would have just torched his way in.
Expert.
Open it! Open it! Open it!
Wouldn't Will and Vince have worn ski masks or disguises of any kind to rob the bank?
No. Yeah, no. They don't need it. Completely abandoned streets in New Orleans at 4 a.m. There's no worry about it. There's only janitors wandering around.
Mm-hmm. New Orleans is known for not having a nightlife whatsoever. So, would have avoided 80 minutes of this crap. They would have just worn ski masks. In 2012, cell service was even crappier than it is now. So how the hell did he forward that BlackBerry's calls to his track phone that he bought at some kiosk in the fucking Amtrak station?
Going through the deep south, some train heading through the south.
Yeah, now that I think about it more, so he forwarded it to that phone, but then that phone had to be forwarded back to him to get the calls.
Yes. So he paired the phones together somehow.
Vincent wasn't fucking around, so he's like gambling his life's or his girlfriend's daughter's life on the fact that it would take less than 8 rings for this weird call forwarding back and forth cell reception crap to reach him.
Like there's so many things like that in this movie that are just like, if you think about them for 2 seconds, you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why didn't Allison scream for help when she poked a hole in the seat? Like there was an Australian dude sitting in the fucking car.
Right there. Yeah.
Right there. Scream for help. He would have at least, like, let's say Vince didn't kill him, but just beat him up and threw him out of the car after that. He would have just called the cops and been like, there was a taxi, mate, and my donga was hanging out, and then this girl screamed. And
that would have been
and he left his phone in the car, so they could have tracked it from his phone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Just,
I don't know.
She didn't scream there. She didn't scream when the cop was there. She just
screaming
pounded on the phone.
She was hitting the thing, but
she was hitting the thing and screaming for help.
So why didn't he
How was she
hear
able
her?
to poke through the car seat with that soundproof foam?
He didn't hear her until
she like pulled it out with her fingertips, which are bleeding in that
for sure,
scene.
bleeding.
So, but then she pokes through the leather of the back seat, which we know from Taxi Driver, it is leather because they have to clean nasty shit off of those all the time. How did she rip through leather with her fingertips?
Right. Just poke.
Kept poking.
Why did Hoyt open the fucking door?
Yeah, that was one of mine. Why did he not only open the door, but then like aim a shotgun at all of the agents pointing guns directly at him again? Like
His life sucked.
The only thing,
he
just wanted to go out. He was just like, fuck it, it's over. I can't go back to prison.
I was wondering, like, so he shoots at Will a couple times and then he opens the door. So maybe he was planning on like running for it. And then the FBI agents were there. That's the only thing
I think
that
they
makes
surprised
sense.
him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know they were there. But then again, why does he point a gun at him?
Yeah. Just need to get rid of that character so that he can't warn Vince ahead of time that Will is still in New Orleans.
Or tell the FBI agents what's going on so they figure it out.
We can't apparently there's evidence all over his apartment of his involvement with Vince.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what it was in those banker boxes was stuff they gathered from his apartment because they wouldn't need a warrant to gather that stuff.
This dude's already dead, yeah. Probably my biggest question of the whole film is why the hell is Vince driving around in the first place?
Yeah, he's really committed to his job. This ballbuster of a dispatcher boss wouldn't give him the day off because it's Mardi Gras.
That creepy limping bastard sneaking my dough.
Why does he have to do it on Mardi Gras? That's like the busiest day for a cab driver, I would imagine.
Looks cool for a film, I guess.
Make it harder to track him down because there's just so much traffic and people.
I guess that makes sense.
But how did he only get flagged once? He's just driving around the streets. You think he'd be getting flagged every 4 seconds?
Yeah, definitely. Because his light's off.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to get out of town to make his way to the amusement park this whole time.
New Orleans not that big. I mean, you could leave the French Quarter in a minute.
Well, we don't know that as the audience.
Who the hell's in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can get on the freeway within 1 minute of leaving the French Quarter. No answers to any single question.
This movie's non-logical. It's nonsense.
In better films, we can have hypothetical discussions about questions a lot of times. In bad films, we just ask questions that should have simple answers, but don't because the writing sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense for him to be driving around. He's just putting himself at risk.
Yeah. And he's making himself so fucking suspicious at every possible chance. Like every time he's anywhere, he's screaming at people.
He gets pulled over because his taillight's out. So.
Yeah. Well, that was Allison pulled the tail light out.
But it's an example of if he was just sitting in a warehouse, he would have been pulled over by a cop.
Just put her in the trunk and just sit there.
He was already there in his hideout. We never go to the hideout.
Yeah.
Like Will never finds it. So he could have just waited there until he had to go to the fairgrounds.
And he put his GPS unit in that other guy's cab. So it's like he
didn't have to drive around at all.
Yeah. He could have just sat in the warehouse. Maybe he's got ADHD, dude. And he just can't sit still.
He's just bored. Just wants to go out on the town, see what's happening. So you could just bend your thumb backwards and slip out of cuffs? Is that?
Yeah. I'm trying to imagine. So you have the cuff around your wrist.
Yeah.
And he folds his finger back over the cuff.
Back this way. Okay. So that would break it. I don't think you can pop it out of a socket.
Maybe he's double jointed. He's the best bank robber alive. He can.
Just like Riggs in fucking Lethal Weapon, except with his thumb instead of his shoulder. Fucking all these convenient things, you know. My last question is, why would the bank vault have an alarm that goes off at 106 degrees? Specifically 106 degrees. Yeah.
So the movie can happen.
I guess, yeah. The answer to all these questions. So the movie can happen. So the next thing can happen.
Why doesn't Will just go to the FBI and cooperate with him? Like, They're like, oh man, you're just trying to get your money and get out of here. Like, no, I'll sit with you while you investigate this and find my daughter. Like, I don't have the money. You're not going to see me going to get it. I'm trying to get money, or I'm trying to rescue my daughter. Help me out.
Yeah.
Like,
just put the call on speakerphone next time Vince calls. Though he's well, okay, so let's say he ditches the FBI agents the first time, but then puts that phone on the train to Tuscaloosa so that Vince doesn't know that he's gone to the FBI. Then when he's with Harlan, just wait for Vince to call and then put him on speakerphone and be like, hey, old friend, what's your name again?
Tell me that thing I was supposed to be doing for you and why.
Call me Gum again. That's how we know that we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah. He could have just solved most of this. Maybe he didn't trust the FBI to help him find his daughter with his daughter's life at stake or something. But
he
was this complete scumbag.
That's true. Yeah, he didn't go to them.
Yeah, he tried, but they didn't believe him and threw him out of the building within a couple minutes.
And then he assaulted 2 FBI agents and hacked into their computer using their credentials. So he definitely isn't trying to get on their side. He could have been more forthcoming with them, is all I'm saying. Why did he just go to the regular cops if the FBI wasn't going to help him because he has a history with Harlan and stuff? Just go to the actual police station and tell him his daughter's been kidnapped.
Yeah.
They'd probably help.
I saw, this is totally separate, but like I watched that Jared Fogle documentary.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And there was a reporter who had been cooperating with the FBI and getting up all this information about Jared Fogle and like all these recordings of him talking about wanting to be with kids and all this stuff. And they drug their feet for years, and she was getting like desperate to get this thing out of her life. She didn't want to have to talk to this child molester anymore. So she went to the local cops, and the local cops called the FBI, and then they like took all of her stuff, like came to her house and took all of her evidence and all that kind of stuff. So she was just completely taken out of the case. So maybe that's what would have happened in this situation is the cops would have just called the FBI and been like, hey, this guy's asking about this thing. And they would have been like, we just threw that asshole out. So
maybe, yeah.